You can, of course, have your photograph taken with the peeler after the event. It can...
security around it though.
Obviously. From potato peelers to a local man. Malachi Kelly is from Armagh, and he stepped out of the shadows of conformity, shook off the shackles of his shyness, raised his writing above the parapet, faced the enemy of embarrassment, and read his words in public. He did not die. He's doing it again. Malachi is reading his story, aptly entitled One More. Malachi Kelly.
Thank you all very much for staying up so late. I was given advice there before I came in that if you're nervous, just think that the audience is naked. There's a fine specimen of humanity up there. One more. This is set in the 70s, and it reflects sort of the subconscious worries that people would have had, and that's where it's come out of. The last of the lights went out, plunging the street into an untimely death. His eyes scraped at the darkness. Sinister shadows made from innocent objects stretched across his path, and newspaper headlines appeared like flashes in front of him. As his eyes became accustomed to the blackness, his step became stronger, quicker, of more purpose. He had stayed too long at the girlfriend's house. The effort to leave was compounded by the encroaching winter weather and the warmth of her arms. Digging his hands deep into his duffel coat pockets and thinking of which route home he should take, he disappeared into the maze of side streets and small estates, eerily quiet, bar the odd barking dog. Igniting the car engine broke the nervous silence which the three had held for the last 10 minutes. Singled the start of their night's work. For one of them, it was his first job, but at 17, he wasn't the youngest in his position. The engine purred, its full petrol tank indicated on the luminous dashboard. Their route had been chosen earlier in the day to avoid the collection of roadworks which were in progress around the city. Neatly indicating and with the headlights on dip, the car slowly moved out of the side street to join the few remaining vehicles still on the roads. His thoughts were on his girlfriend and how she seemed to hold him closer than usual before he left. He felt good inside thinking about her and about their future. He was in love. The determined step he fell into had warmed his feet, and as he came out onto the central thoroughfare, he started whistling. Street lights worked in this part of the city, and as he approached what during the day was a busy junction, his eyes instinctively scanned the adjoining dark side streets. He turned left and walked away from the junction, continuing on the main road. It was at this point that he noticed the car coming towards him. His mind ran through what was now an habitual procedure at this time of night. Make of car, colour, registration, speed, number of occupants, windows up or down. Ford Cortina, dark blue or black. HLZ 39, normal speed. 3 occupants, windows up. He watched out of the corner of his eye as the car passed and drove on. He breathed more easily. His safety procedure was over for now. The click from the safety coming off the 9mm automatic pistol was deafening to the 17-year-old. Beads of sweat appeared like raindrops over his brow and bridge of his nose. The mask, when he pulled it over his head, swept perspiration into his eyes. They slowed at the junction, indicating to come back down the same street, all the time aware of drawing attention to themselves. By now, the windows of the Cortina were misted from the heat of the bodies, the 17-year-olds especially. He was in the back seat, passenger seat, his hands pulled frantically at the window winder. It won't open! The fucking window won't open! The driver instantly reduced speed, but didn't drop gear for fear of alerting their target, which was now merely 150 yards away. Under frantic efforts from both passengers, the stiff window began to give and fully opened within 100 yards. But this irritation in their plan had the effect of racking the youth's nerve. His hands shook violently. Whatever it was, instinct, experience, survival, his sense of danger became very real as the sound of the car slowed. He turned and looked back up the road. Dark blue Cortina, back near side window open, and what seemed like an arm or a hand protruding. He had stopped now, as had time. Once again, newspaper headlines flashed through his mind. A sick, choking feeling came to his throat as he made out the shape of a gun at the window. Frozen, he was unable to do a damn thing as the car was merely yards away. The armed youth was crying, not from sorrow, but fright, anger, frustration, and a loathing of himself. He raised his hand and tried to steady his aim, but he could not control it. He was shaking all over, and in that same instant his eyes met his target's. It seemed like an eternity as his mind took in every detail of that petrified, disbelieving face, the face of an innocent, petrified 17-year-old. Far in the distance, a voice, a whisper at first, but then an order, a command, roaring, "Shoot, you bastard! Shoot the bastard!" Automatically, he aimed at those eyes, which were all that he could see, and closing his own, he fired twice. Thank you.